Hey guys, this is Anarchist coming to you from the dark side of the moon here on And After Hours on the Wham Radio Network. I just want you guys to pardon me. I took a little hiatus because I had laryngitis, as you can hear. My voice is still a little strained, but the show must go on. Today's episode, I wanted to talk about my home state of Illinois and a lot of the things that are going on here with the VAXXs and especially the COVID ones, and some of the laws that they've changed in the past here in my state, of course, making sure that people cannot get religious exemptions or philosophical exemptions, yada yada. So let's just go take a look into some of the things that they are talking about. Of course, this article was written back in 2015, and I also have other useful information later on in this episode that I wanted to get out to anyone who's living here in Illinois, who is seeking a way out. And I don't even really want to call it a way out. It's more like a way around, because at the end of the day, they do plan on making employers get their employees to get the VAXX, especially the COVID one. Alright, so let's get into this first article. It says, Illinois makes it harder to get religious exemptions from vaccinations. Oops, I said that evil word. Hopefully, maybe I should bleep it out. I don't know. So this was during the time Bruce Rauner was governor of Illinois. Right now, it's J.B. Pillager. So Rauner had opened the gateway for our current dictator, Pillager, to find a way to override constitutional and federal laws, especially the Illinois state constitution. So let's get into the article here. Families with religious objections to immunizing their children soon will have an additional hurdle to clear if they want to enroll students in public or private schools. Now, in this first statement here, opening up the article, I just want to add that there are alternatives to schooling your children. And I can also give you some alternatives later on in the episode, and I'll try to leave the links down below if you want to find a way how to educate your children without the use of state public schools or even a private school itself. Okay? Last week, Bruce Rauner approved a measure aimed at reducing the number of un-VAXX children in the classroom. But because Rauner didn't sign the bill until after many students have received their checkups or started school, the new requirements won't go in effect until October 16th. This was written in 2015. I wonder when that's going to happen, guys. Can't wait till October 16th, which is the day after students must receive their VAXXs or file objections. That delays the law's full impact by a year. Literally saying that is delaying children access to school. Like, let me try to rephrase that. They're upset that the current amount of children that are un-VAXXed have access to their public education system. They want to reduce those numbers. And of course, I do believe they did reduce those numbers within, this was written in 2015 and it's 2021. I'm pretty sure in the last 5 years, that number has been reduced. This is a bit of a difficult situation since it was signed into law last Monday, said Melanie Arnold, a spokeswoman for the State Department of Public Health. A lot of kids have already gone to get their physical and so forth. Some schools have already started. To send them back to the doctor would be costing the parents. So they're acting like they care about what is it, costing the parents money. Like, they're using that excuse as a way to establish a common ground with us regular folk, so that way we feel, not think, that they have a legitimate concern over the welfare of us, the people. Families seeking a religious exemption next year or transferring after October 16th will have to complete a certificate explaining their objection on religious grounds before kindergarten, 6th, and 9th grades. That certificate must also include the signature of a doctor attesting that he or she counseled the parents about the risks of skipping VAXXs. How effective the new law will be in reducing the number of un-VAXX children isn't clear, since how schools define a religious objection isn't clear either. The Illinois State Board of Education tracked more than 13,000 such exemptions in 2013, said spokeswoman Megan Griffin. While the objection doesn't have to be based on religious doctrine, it can't be based simply on personal preference either. So what they're saying is, even if you decided yourself and, I guess, treated your body as your own property, like you own yourself, and you choose not to get VAXX, they said you can't do that either. You can't you can't base your exemption on the fact that you're treating yourself as if you own yourself, is what they're saying. So they own your body, is what this article is describing here, especially this Megan Griffin. She sounds like she has some real control issues. General philosophical or moral reluctance to allow physical examinations will not provide a sufficient basis for an exemption, Griffin said. When local schools are looking at it, they are advised to look for words like deity or faith or prayer or higher power, things like that. Red flags go up when they see words that refer to a moral basis or fear of VAXXs as opposed to a personal religious belief. So, let me reiterate this. Whether you believe in God or not, you don't have a right to make that choice for yourself because they own you. So, again, if you're treating your body like you own it, and you're choosing what things you're putting in and out of it, what makes you think that your belief in God or your non-belief in God is, what's the word, powerful enough to convince them that you own yourself and that you can make this decision? So Miss Griffin thinks that we don't have the capacity to make decisions for ourselves. Scroll down a little bit more here. With Rauner's signature, Illinois remains one of 47 states that allow children to be exempt from VAXXs due to religious concerns. Only 3 states, California, Mississippi, and West Virginia, prohibit non-medical exemptions. California became the largest state in June to end exemptions for personal or religious reasons after a measles outbreak at Disneyland was attributed to un-VAXX children. I really want to see the data for that, to be honest. It's, to me, is the statement is very much based on speculation. Correlation isn't causation, guys. You can't correlate this completely. If there were VAXX kids and there was a quote-unquote an outbreak, then wouldn't you think that the kids that were VAXX be protected from the ones that weren't? And let alone, did they ever do long-term studies on the kids that were un-VAXX for their long-term immunity against the measles? versus kids that are VAXXed, that have their immunity given to them by these shots. And it goes on to say, now California families who refuse to vaccinate their children for non-medical reasons must be homeschooled. And that is one alternative I will present to you. The parents, anybody who's got a kid who's listening to the show right now, it's very, very, very important to consider why homeschooling is effective and is a great way to educate your children and to keep the values that you have in your family at home within your children, and they grow up to be good critical thinkers versus being indoctrinated in a public school. And this is coming from me, who worked for CPS. I am an ex-teacher. I will not go back to the trade. I refuse to contribute to the system. And if I can, I will offer my teaching services at competitive rates so that I can educate your children in reading, writing, and math, so that they can have the bare basics that they need on a strong foundation of facts and their own experience being involved in their own education using a Montessori style method. Anyway, in fact, the new Illinois law mostly applies to people of faith who can't point to institutional tenets. For example, some Roman Catholics reject about a third of the childhood immunizations, including VAXXs against polio, rubella, chickenpox, and hepatitis A, because they have all been derived from the cell lines of aborted fetuses, which is fact, guys. You can go to the CDC website and look up the ingredients to all these VAXXs, and yes, they do use aborted fetuses, especially the kidney cells of aborted fetuses, to create these VAXXs. So you will have the DNA of a dead child used and injected into your body. It's almost like the episode of the Venture Brothers where Dr. Venture had that the pleasure machine that was powered by the souls of dead orphans. Except now you're immunized with dead babies. So congratulations to everyone who decided to get all these vaccines. You have now been injected with dead babies. May the hauntings begin. The Vatican has said alternatives should be sought, but if there is none, VAXXs are morally acceptable and serve the common good. So they didn't really disagree with all the VAXXs, just the ones with dead babies in them, because the other ones with the heavy metals aren't deadly and taboo enough. Let's continue down to here. The church isn't going to say you have to get your kids VAXX, even if you're morally uncomfortable about this, said Eric Scheidler, executive director of a pro-life action league. You can have a more scrupulous moral position than the official teaching of the church. So he's promoting that even if the church is not accepting some of the vaccinations, like the ones made with aborted dead babies, the other ones you really shouldn't be opposed to, and we're still not disopposed to, granted that these other VAXXs have a lot more harmful ingredients in it aside from dead babies. So if you don't get injected with dead babies, you can get injected with mercury instead and give yourself mental retardation in the process of doing that. Possibly, but it is listed on the list of side effects on the booklet that comes in every, the shot. So always make sure to ask your doctor every time you get VAXX. Take my advice. And I know, you guys don't trust me, and whether you trust me or not, don't take my word for it. Go see for yourself is what I'm trying to say. So, when you go see your doctor, ask them, can I get the booklet that comes with my VAXX. And just wait and see the response that your physician may even give you. Now, that's just a little experiment that you could try on your own. You know, whenever you go see your local medical doctor. Alright, let's back to the article. Finding any religion that discourages VAXXs can be difficult. Even the founder of Christian Science, which champions the healing power of prayer, didn't even oppose the legally mandated immunizations. Rather than quarrel over VAXXs, I recommend, if the law demands that an individual submit to this process, that he obey the law. Look at that. I love how they use faith. And I don't care about the, the people who don't believe in God, the atheists, because they themselves go to the government to create laws, and they think that they're good law-abiding citizens. But you know what? Between the, there is a common ground between these people, this group of people, and the atheists. Because even though they object to ones with aborted baby, with dead babies in it, they totally don't object to the other ones. They're totally being transparent about their position on mandated VAXXs. So let's just scroll down a little bit more, because there's some more meat in this article. And it's a little worrying, because when I read articles like this that really infuriate me, it does take a lot of mental energy for me not to process it, but to help me process my emotions over how enraged I can get over allowing these psychopaths to run our lives. Okay? This is how we know that the people at the top, they're really sick in the head. And they totally convinced us that the solutions they have to offer are even correlated or even caused by the problems that they started. A lot of the times they start these problems. They create them, and then we react to them, and then they offer us a prepackaged solution. Just like, look at how quickly they did this COVID VAXX. Like, look how quickly they rushed it in. And there's so many people lining up to, get this thing. Like, I saw an article last week, or, a couple weeks ago, about 2 women who disguised themselves as old ladies and to get their COVID vaccines. And I think there's a video of them sitting in the car. They're wearing gray wigs. They put on double masks, put on these thick goggle glasses looking thing, like what the old people wear when they're outside in the sun. They're really wearing those giant sunglasses. And I mean, they were really trying to pass off as old people. And the funny thing is that they got the VAXX. Like, they were actually administered the shot. And I think I remember seeing even in the video, the police were actually called. And you guys can, go and look this up yourself. I will try to see if I can leave the links down below, because I don't have the time right now to go and look everything up, because this article is so lengthy, and I want to be able to show you some alternative information at the same time in this episode. But you can go look this up. In the video, the cop is going up to them saying, you're not going to be able to get your second doses because of this, right? And I almost died when he said that, because it's almost like it's a threat now. If you don't get your VAXX now, it's a threat. Well, now you're not going to get your second dose of the death threat. Now you just got the first one. You stole it from the old people that were really trying to kill. Anyway, let's continue with the article. I can't say anyone pinpointed any scripture or religious document that said that it would be harmful or against some religion to have their kids VAXX. Mulrose said, explaining why he shifted his approach. How about we make sure the people who are exercising this right are informed? Laura Seleni, A mother of two and children's health advocate who negotiated on behalf of families said she encountered a wide range of religious objections she had never considered. In addition to evangelical Christians and Catholics who objected to how vaccines are derived, she met parents who believe injecting children with VAXXs derived from animal DNA would violate the trust God placed in them by giving them children. Now, that is a very good argument. I mean, in the first place, if you think about it, if animal DNA is in there, I mean, we already ingest animal DNA by eating meat. But see, that goes through the process of digestion. That's a natural process. Okay, digestion starts in the mouth with your teeth, you're chewing, you got your tongue, you're creating saliva. Okay, it goes down your esophagus into your stomach and it gets processed and stuff like that in there. That's, the natural way of taking anything into your system. Now, by inducing an injection via through your skin, I think that's a totally different thing. On a whole different level, going directly into your skin, to your veins, your spinal cord, your brain. I think that's a whole other level of introducing things into the body. And I can see why there are a lot of faithful Christians, or what they call faith healing Christians, that don't believe in doing that to the body, because there is also a belief that, scarring up the body, the cutting of the body, defacing of the body is bad. Like it's a crime against God's creation. God gave you a body and you're supposed to take care of it. Cutting into it, even for people who are suicidal, who are cutters, that is actually frowned on. And I admit that I am a cutter. And I can see why that's something that they frown upon, But that is their beliefs, and they should be entitled to that, and they should be able to exercise their bodies as if they own it. And they also are in charge of their children and can make those decisions for their children until their children are old enough to make those decisions themselves. And and that's something that is done privately, in families, and that's, should be taken care of. The government and the state should have nothing to do with any of that. And if they choose to homeschool their kids, that's a whole, way of being solely responsible, not only for the education of your child, but for the moral and value system that your child's going to grow up with. They will grow up with your family's values and morals and ideas and way of living versus the state mandated, the state ran public education system that teaches kids how to think, how to act, how to live, how to be, what is the idea of success, what's not the idea of success, and so on and so forth. That way, the kids themselves will have no way of exploring who they are and what they want to be when they grow up in a way that is most beneficial to them and not most beneficial to the system. And that's the way we want our kids to grow up. You want them to be self-sufficient and doing things for themselves that are going to be beneficial for themselves, that it's going to be fruitful. You want it to be fruitful for your children, any endeavors that they may go through in their lives. But it's not fruitful when it contributes to a system that makes sure to drain them of their time, of their money, of their experience, of their capacity to explore themselves and to do the things that they feel is in the best interest for them. Therefore, again, the government owns us. They own your body. You cannot treat your body as if you own yourself, because the government will make sure to infringe on that right in some way, shape, or form, like they're planning on coming here in Illinois, especially when they mandate employers to VAXX their employees with the COVID VAXXs. When we look at religion and spirituality, it's such a personal, privately held right in this country. Whenever we try to infringe on it, we need to be very, very careful. It's a tremendous freedom that we should never take for granted. Your relationship with God might lead to a different conclusion. Salini said the bill makes clear that doctors who sign religious exemption certificates aren't endorsing the waiver. Dr. Ruben Rukoba, a Wheaton pediatrician, said that especially important in his practice where he says he plans to sign certificates for family who object, then advised them to find another doctor. To curb the number of patients in his practice who oppose VAXXs, he and his colleagues adopted a policy barring un-VAXX children without a medical reason. So they make sure to bar you from the medical system or access to the medical system. So, they'll tell you, go find somebody else. But we all know 9 times out of 10, the next person that you're going to find is going to endorse the same thing and adopt very similar policies, because there's a lot of financial incentives for these doctors to administer these VAXXs. They're not doing it because they are, at this point, really thinking about your health. They're doing it because they get a lot of kickback money from these pharmaceutical companies. And that's how I'll try to make a whole other episode on how Big Pharma basically runs our government. I don't want to play judge and jury, Rukoba said. Religious liberty is one thing, public health and safety is another. We need to have a balance, and I need to make sure in my practice I protect all the kids. That said, he has encountered a number of patients opposed to VAXXing their children, but rarely if ever for religious reasons. So they're making sure to demonize people who have philosophical reasons as to why they should not be VAXX, or to get an exemption, basically. They're like, oh no, they're coming up with other reasons outside of God. So again, even if you don't believe in God, but you do believe you own your body, you don't. I am my brother's keeper, said Grabenstein, quoting the Old Testament book of Genesis. That certainly relates to a contagious disease. They should object to the vaccine and tell manufacturers to do something different. But fundamentally, the parents have the responsibility to VAXX. Alright. So not only they're using doctors in this article, they're using religious people as well. So they're trying to make sure that they reinforce the idea that you don't own yourself, because as the book of Genesis says, I am my brother's keeper. They own you. Alright, so if you want to read the rest of this article, I will definitely leave this in the description below. I just want to go and look over at this next page here. This is the IC4IC website on VAXX exemptions. It actually gives you a lot of useful information as to how you can acquire such an exemption and work your way through the medical system, so that way you have access to medical medicine and and health for yourself and your family, and how you can avoid a lot of the pitfalls in the workplace and maybe even in the school system. But again, I am a big advocate for homeschooling. There are so many websites that are free for your children. They'll be able to learn at their own pace. And that's what makes homeschooling so much more effective than the traditional in the classroom learning. Don't let the school system make you believe that you are not qualified enough to educate your child. That is implying that you're not educated enough in your own skills and talent and your own schooling, or the public schooling that you've had in your time, that you cannot teach your child. So on this website, they give you a lot of information about getting exemptions for pre-K to 12th grade. They give you the form, and you can go to another website where they'll give you even more information. And if you're denied an exemption for your child, they give you information as to how you can appeal any denial. School exemptions. healthcare employee religious exemptions. If you work in a hospital and stuff like that, there's a lot of useful information, because I know there are a lot of you frontline workers or frontline healthcare workers that are iffy and don't want to take this VAXX, the convids. So we'll keep scrolling down. If you're in a daycare, and you have kids in daycare, this is, they got useful information here for enrolling your children into daycare, getting exemptions for that. This is a very, very, very useful website, and they give you all the policy numbers, admin codes and stuff like that, what section, what title, what document that you can use to make sure that you exercise your right as a natural being, and showing that you own yourself and you own your body. And maybe if you need to fudge, I guess, the words a little, and you make sure that you use those hot words like faith and prayer and all those other good blessed words, so that you can obtain yourself a religious exemption. And I just want to show you an example of what a religious exemption form may look like. This one, of course, is from Illinois. So any people out of state, make sure you do your own due diligence. You look through all your local governments, county level, and however way you gotta, look things up, that you find the correct form and the correct information that you need, so that you can move forward in getting yourself an exemption. I am not an expert. This is just my own research and information that I come across, and you could always, look at the stuff that I put out there, and judge for yourself if anything that I had to say in this episode has any truth to it at all, if it weighs in any part of your thinking and how you see what's going on and how they're peddling the convid VAXX. So I'm just going to end this episode on a high note that you are totally capable of educating your own children. Don't think that for a minute you do not have the qualifications to teach your own kids. Okay? That's implying that you do not have the capacity to think for yourself. And that's not true, because I know a lot of people who are very smart people who may be misled, but will eventually come to terms and challenge their beliefs, and are still open enough to rethink about a lot of the things that they are currently thinking, and things that they have put a lot of trust into. So with this form, they make sure to underline certain key things here, so just make sure you pay attention. Like I said, again, this is from Illinois. Make sure you double check it with your state. Who may use the certificate of religious exemption to require immunizations or examination form? So parents and legal guardians who are requesting religious exemption must use this form for students entering kindergarten, 6th, or 9th grade. A separate form must be used for each child, so you can't use it for your whole family. You got to make one for every one of your kids, and make sure that every one of your kids are on the same page, basically. With a religious exemption, enrolled to enter any public, chartered, private, or parochial preschool, kindergarten, elementary, or secondary school. This form may not be used for exemptions for personal or philosophical reasons. Illinois' law does not allow for such exemptions. So even if you morally yourself came to terms with your own thoughts and actions and emotions on this issue of whether or not you want to take the VAXX, and it became a moral issue for you, whether you believe in God or not, that's still not on a basis, it's not enough for them to give you an exemption. So make sure you use those hot words like faith and prayer and church and all those really good religious hot words, and you salt and pepper it all over your form. How to complete the certificate of religious exemption to require immunizations or examination form. Complete the parent-guardian sections, which include key information about the student and the school the student will be entering. Provide a statement of religious beliefs for each vaccination, for each VAXX. Sorry guys, I'm doing this at 11:40 at night. I am very tired. And I'm also at work, so I'm trying to do both at the same time because I came across this today and it just really irritated me. So I really wanted to make an episode about this, on top of recovering from laryngitis. So that's why I sound terrible, guys. And if you can sit here through this entire episode, praise you be. Thank you so much for supporting the show and supporting me and Marlboro Man's attempt to use, I guess, the media and YouTube and all these social media platforms to spread the word of freedom and self-ownership and voluntarism. Submit the completed form to the local school authority on before October 15 in the school year or by an earlier enrollment date established by the school district. Religious exemption from immunizations examination form process. So this is the whole shebang. Let's just scroll down right here and see all the stuff that they have here. It's a very short form. The directions are longer than the actual form itself. And it says that attach extra pages when you're writing your remember in grade school where they had everybody do that long paragraph essay? This is one of those right here. So you put your kid's name, their birth date, what gender they are, your information, the exemptions that you're requesting from all the different vaccines on a list there, and then you check them off, and then you write each one on a line about why you are objecting to using it and giving it to your kid, blah blah blah. And here at the bottom they got a doctor's signature and the phone number and all their information they have to put down at the bottom to make sure that this is a legitimate thing. So I want your guys' thoughts on this. I want to see what you really think about mandated VAXXs, and or if you don't, why you think why we shouldn't have mandated VAXXs. I really want to know from, they like to call it the pro VAXX movement and then the anti VAXX movement. But I'm all about informed consent. I believe that is the middle ground that everyone has been asking for, this quote-unquote balance that between the churches and doctors. Informed consent is probably the best way to go. And if you want to learn more about informed consent, then you can look up people like Del Bigtree, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. There's a lot of people who are speaking up on the informed consent movement and seeing why that this is an issue that should be done on a private level, on an individual level. That is very much most important, and the best way that you can serve your freedom, your personal liberties, and your self-sovereignty is when you do everything on an individual level. Alright guys, this is Anarchist coming to you from the dark side of the moon here on And After Hours on the WHAM Radio Network. I will see you guys all on the next show.